The first North Korean officers eliminated on Ukrainian territory.
A missile strike near Donetsk destroyed 6 North Korean officers.
Thousands of military personnel training at Russian ranges. Koreans strolling the streets of Moscow. As well as lectures on political training for Russian translators in the spirit of Back to the USSR.
You think it's not being written? I'm having dialogues with others about this. This leadership includes the idea that yes, the Korean party must stand with all leaderships.
Kim Jong Un enters the war against Ukraine. Pyongyang and Moscow no longer hide their plans. What is North Korea's military potential? What are the dictators planning? More on this later in Arsenal. 3 years of a heavy, bloody war between the South and the North made the Koreas some of the most militarized countries in the world.
They are preparing, they understand that North Korea is a direct threat, primarily to South Korea and also to Japan.
According to analysts from Global Firepower in 2024, North Korea ranked 5th in the world in terms of the number of active military personnel, with 1.3 million military personnel, while South Korea ranked 9th with 600,000 respectively. Interestingly, while sending his troops to the war with Ukraine, Kim Jong Un is also threatening war with his southern neighbor.
In the event of war, the Republic of Korea will be destroyed. It desires war and we will gladly destroy it. According to consolidated data, over 2 days, October 14th and 15th, more than 1 million nationwide, 400,000 leading workers of the union, youth and young people have expressed a strong desire to join and return to the People's Army.
It's a case of not quality but quantity. With a small population of 25 million, North Korea holds 4 million military personnel in reserve, combined with active forces, provides Kim Jong Un over 5 million ideologically indoctrinated soldiers.
A peculiar axis of authoritarians has formed. China, Russia, North Korea and Iran are cooperating with other countries that strongly despise the concept of the free world and believe that Russia should be supported in its attempts to restore its empire because these countries, such as these, believe in empires and spheres of dominance.
Military cooperation between Russia and North Korea began with the transfer of artillery ammo. And although the low quality of these very munitions is regularly complained about by the Russian occupiers themselves, the lack of quality is compensated by quantity.
North Korea provides half of the shells used by Russia in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
For decades since the Korean War of 1950-1953, the USSR has been the main military technical sponsor of Pyongyang. It is from those times that North Korea accumulated huge stockpiles of Soviet artillery munitions, which today North Korea is transferring to Russia. The main problem in the cooperation between the two dictatorial countries is that the West has no influence over Kim's regime. After all, North Koreans have long ceased to be intimidated by words and sanctions.
It has essentially grown in this soil of sanctions, and although everything is very difficult there is China, there are black markets, there is the possibility to steal cryptocurrency, and through this they were able to first create and then develop a nuclear program.
And although it is almost impossible to pressure North Korea, the deepening of military technical cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang opens up some prospects for Kyiv, as South Korea understands well what is coming. Trains loaded with North Korean ammunition, missiles and soldiers are met by Russian trains carrying technologies and various equipment.
I think the very logic of the development of cooperation between Russia and North Korea will eventually, quite logically, lead South Korea to intensify military technical cooperation with Ukraine. And it is precisely on this principle that if we have common enemies, we should cooperate with each other.
If Pyongyang's principle is not quality but quantity, and in the worst case, we'll bring out our main trump card. Nuclear weapons. Seoul is investing huge funds and resources into the development of a modern military-industrial complex. Tanks, fighters, howitzers, and multiple launch rocket systems. By 2027, Seoul plans to become one of the leading countries in the export of military equipment and ammunition. As of today, the main buyer of South Korean weapons is Poland. In 2022, Poland signed a massive contract worth tens of billions of dollars, under which Warsaw will receive more than 600 self-propelled artillery units. K9 218 self-propelled artillery units, K239 Chunmu, about 1,000 K2 tanks, as well as 48 Fa-50 fighter jets. To understand the vast gap in military technical development between the North and the South, it is enough to look at the military encounters of the two countries at the border. Against the backdrop of their North Korean neighbors, the South Korean infantry looks almost like Space Marines. Meanwhile, the South is not lagging behind, and in some military sectors, it even surpasses the leading Western powers. The lion's share of North Korea's military-industrial complex is tied to Soviet technologies. Pyongyang's main battle tank, the Chongho, with more than 1,250 units, is essentially a renamed copy of the Soviet T-62. Notably, the only operator of this North Korean tank in the world, besides North Korea itself, is Iran, which ordered 150 units in 1981. The technical specifications of the tank are as follows. The Chongho weighs 40 tons. The hull length is 6.63 meters. The height is 3.52 meters. It has a power of 750 horsepower. The maximum speed is 50 km per hour. The main armament is a 150mm smoothbore gun. The serial production of the Chongho began after the end of the Korean War. Therefore, in practice, under real combat conditions, the tank has not proven itself. What's more interesting? The situation with artillery in North Korea is intriguing. The specific military strategic position of South Korea lies in the vulnerable location of its capital. From the demilitarized zone, which is the actual border with North Korea, the capital is separated by only 50 kilometers. Such a short distance prompted the North Korean leadership to desire a gun capable of reaching the neighboring capital. The result of the efforts of North Korean engineers was the self-propelled gun Koksan of a very unusual under 70 caliber. For the North Korean self-propelled artillery, a tank-type chassis was used, borrowed from the Soviet medium tank T-54. The name Koksan was given to the self-propelled gun by Western experts in honor of the North Korean city where the artillery was first spotted. The actual designation of the self-propelled artillery is still unknown. It is believed that production began around 1973. The self-propelled gun was publicly demonstrated for the first time at the 1987 parade. The tactical and technical characteristics of the North Korean self-propelled gun are as follows. Weight is about 40 tons. The barrel length is 50 calibers or about 8 meters. Rate of fire is 2 rounds per minute. The engine power is 580 horsepower, which allows the self-propelled gun to reach a speed of 40 km/h. The firing range with a standard high explosive fragmentation shell reaches 43 kilometers, and with an active reactive shell it reaches 54-60 kilos. The SAU Aksan, created in the 1970s, became the first example of North Korean strategic weaponry, a kind of long arm of the DPRK's military political leadership. Before the advent of missiles, these guns were the only means capable of striking key centers in the south, including the capital Seoul and the port of Incheon from North Korean territory. That's all for now. Don't forget to write in the comments about which types of weapons you would like to learn more about. Like this video and of course, subscribe to our new Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.